Hi everyone, good noon. So I will be recording the week 6 synchronous session for our class in Psy111. So you can see here in module 2 we have the following lectures or lessons: the theories of Klein, Horney, Erickson, and Fromm. So this will be the coverage for module 2. So we have here the lecture discussions, but for this time I would be discussing to you the theory of Melanie Klein, Object Relations Theory. So, kindly please take note of the following contents. We have week 7 quiz. We also have the week 8 quiz as well, and some formative assessment for you to answer online. So, take note also of the different items for module 2. Just see the overview, the course outcomes, some experiential activities from ASU. Okay, you can check this out. There are some lecture videos from ASU as well for you to watch, and some supplementary learning materials from ASU as well. So check that one out, and also my personal lecture videos as well. So ayon. And then we have the quiz already. So much for that. In this time I will be covering the lesson we have for this week, and that will be Karen Horney, Melanie Klein's theory. Okay, let me allow me to share my presentation to you. Okay, so here it is, object relations theory. Um, the overview of Klein's theory is it emphasizes the importance of the 4 to 6 months of human life. Unlike Freud's theory, it's different. It emphasizes the first 12 years or 4 to 6 years, but for Klein's theory, she emphasizes the first 4 to 6 months. She also highlight the importance of certain objects like the breast, vagina, and penis. For fantasies, this is the term coined by Klein, wherein people fantasize about life. They have this, I can say, hindi masyadong buong or primitive knowledge of what is reality and life for infants. So Klein focuses more that infants have already personality during those early years of their life. For objects, these are the drives or the instincts were exerted and applied. So for objects, this could represent penis, vagina, and later I'll be discussing this one. So there are two positions, paranoid schizoid possession and depressive possession. So let me relate Freud's theory with Klein's theory. So object relations theory is an offspring of Freud's instinct theory, yet it is different from it in some important ways. For Freud, she highlight the first six years, but for Horney, she highlight the first 4 months. For not for Klein pala, no. The external objects refers to parents, while internal objects refers to significant people of a person's life. Take note of that one. She also emphasizes the consistent patterns of interpersonal relationships that was formed mother and the child. During that time, nagkakaroon na rin ng personality or idea yung bata, no? And she also stresses intimacy and nurture, which is somewhat maternal, no? And through that, there are things that was developed or that is already developing in the child. Relatedness as a prime motive of human behavior. She highlight relatedness. She also emphasized again for first to 6 months of human life. While Freud emphasized the first 4 to 6 years of life, object relations theories like Klein emphasized the first 4 to 6 months. She's also concerned on the formation of the self before the Oedipal stage. Okay, take note of that one. Here are some core concepts on the theory of Klein. There is an emphasis placed on the infant's drives, which are hunger, sex, the different physiological needs, and that these drives are directed at an object such as the breast, the penis, vagina, or other objects. The child's relation to that object is fundamental and serves as a prototype for all later relations to whole objects like mother and father. So, The very early tendency of infants is to relate to partial objects that gives their experience an unrealistic or fantasy-like quality that affects all later interpersonal relations. So take note of that one. How the child or the infant relates with the objects, it serves as a prototype of how they will relate later on when they become adults. Klein's ideas also tend to shift the focus of psychoanalytic theory from organically based stages of development to the role of early fantasy of interpersonal relations. Okay, so we have here object relations theory. They place less emphasis on biologically based drives and more importance on consistent patterns of interpersonal relations. While Freud's theory is quite paternalistic, which emphasized the power and control of the father, object relations theory tends to be more maternal, emphasizing the importance of the mother and child relationship, which stressed that intimacy was being formed during the infant stage of a human life, and also focus on the being nurturing of the mother towards her child. Object relations theory generally sees human contact and relatedness and not just on sexual pleasure as the prime motive of human behavior. Here are some basic assumptions of the theory of Klein. Human personality is a product of the early mother and child relationship. Um, Early interpersonal experience then serves as a prototype of subsequent interpersonal relations. And human contact and relatedness becomes the prime motive of human behavior. So, we could say that her theory is deterministic by nature. It is either pessimistic or optimistic. It values causality or past experiences. There is a focus also on the unconscious, just like Freud. Quite of social because of the relationship of mother and child, and it highlights similarities of individuals. ORT or object relations theory then places less emphasis on the biologically based drives and more importance on the consistent patterns of interpersonal relations. While Freud, on the other hand, is more of paternalistic, which highlights the power and control of the father. So we could say that we could it's easily distinguish the two, or there are really difference between the two. ORT also tend to be more maternal, that stresses the intimacy and nurturing of being a mother. And ORT or object relations theory generally sees human contact and relatedness, not just sexual pleasure, as the prime motive of human behavior. Okay? So we go now to to the following concepts, no? Again, the psychic life of the infant is during the first 4 to 6 months. We have the term fantasies, which are psychic representations of unconscious instincts and should not be confused with the conscious fantasies. Object, on the other hand, is internal psychic representation of early significant people, and possession is our ways of dealing with both external and internal objects, which then represents normal social growth and development. Okay? So those are just some of the key concepts. We have also possessions. We have two possessions: paranoid schizoid possession and the depressive possession. Paranoid schizoid possession, this is 3 to 4 months. The child or the infant began to organize experiences in a way that includes both feelings of persecution. For you to easily identify, possessions is more of the developmental stages of the infant, how the infant began to realize or began to process things. Just think of it as if stages, okay? Some stages. So 3 to 4 months. So what happens here is they have feelings of persecution and splitting of internal and external objects into either good and bad only. So this includes being paranoid of being persecuted, but they were able to they were able to easily or become able to split internal or external objects to either both good or bad. No, It identifies the source as an object of drive or instincts which he desired to be in control with. Now we have the depressive possession. This happens 5 to 6 months. So when the infant can already view an object as incorporated both good and bad feelings, the infant feels anxiety of losing a loved object, accompanied by a sense of guilt of wanting to destroy that loved object. So this happens after paranoid schizoid possession. So there is a feeling of anxiety over losing a loved object. The infant also realizes that his or her mother might leave her, so he begins to protect her. There's also a sense of guilt for wanting to destroy a loved object as well. So those are the stages, I mean, the possessions that the infant might experience. We have here some psychic defense mechanisms. We have introjection, projection, and splitting. Introjection, this is a psychic defense mechanism that the child begins to fantasize, taking into their body perceptions and experiences that they had with. This happens during. Okay, okay. This happens during. I guess it happens during depressive possession. So, projection, on the other hand, is a fantasy that one's own feelings actually reside in another person and not within their own body. So that is projection. So it's more of transferring it to other person, not just to themselves. And splitting is managing the both good and the bad aspects of themselves to perceive people and things as either extremely good or bad. Okay, so example, the doctor is totally bad or good, or he is a miracle worker or incompetent. So that is for splitting. For projective identification, infants split off unacceptable parts of themselves and projecting it back into another object. Then finally, they began to introject them back into themselves in a changed or distorted form. So this involves several forms of psychic defense mechanism. First, they began to split, and then they do projection. Then finally, they introject it back to themselves in a distorted form already that is more acceptable. So that is projective identification. It's a combination of the three other psychic defense mechanisms. So we have also internalization. So it means that the person can take into the introjects aspects of the external world and then organize those introjection into a psychologically healthy individual. So for internalization, we have the ego, which one sense of feeling when a person matures on the first experience of feeding. We also have super ego. This emerges earlier in life and it produces terror in infants that goes with the development of infants. The Oedipus complex begins much earlier in time in fear of parents' retaliation. This also goes with child's retention of positive feelings towards both parents and enables children to recognize between either good and bad. So, yeah, we have here either female Oedipal development or the male Oedipal development. Okay, so this concepts and terms, I know it can be kind of deep, but you can watch also my other lecture videos or Sir J.P. Buduan's discussion on ORT. Now let's go to the later views of ORT. So these are also termed as baby psychologists because they focus more into infants. So we have Mahler. She theorized that infants struggle to gain autonomy and a sense of self. So for Mahler, she highlights the importance of stages of development of individuation. There is a separation and individuation by which the child emerges from a symbolic fusion with mother and develops individual characteristics. Because at first, 'di ba, the mother and the child are in an omnipotent system. Kumbaga, parang as one siya. Later on, the child or the infant began to realize or began to practice how she or how he is different from her or his mother. And yun yung gustong intindihin. Or I mean, yun yung gustong i-discuss ni Mahler. We have the process called normal autism and normal symbiosis, followed by differentiation, practicing, rapprochement, and finally consolidation. Then the child begins to individuate himself or herself from her mother. Heinz Kohut. For Heinz Kohut, the self theory, he suggests that children need to have uh, their their talk and accomplishment acknowledged. So, according also to him, narcissistic character disorders occur when individuals fail to develop independent sense of self. And for and he also emphasized the process by which the self evolves from a vague and undifferentiated image to a clear and precise individual identity. From John Bowlby's attachment theory, we have three stages: protest, despair, and detachment. For protest, the child here began to, when separated initially, the child protests by crying, calling out, and searching for the lost person. Despair, this is the period of separation that continues, that the child shows signs of feeling hopeless, that the mother will ever return. And detachment is a final step where the child emotionally separates self from the mother and the child responds in an indifferent manner when the mom returns. So take note of the following stages. Okay? So yeah, take note of that one. Now we have here um, some attachment styles. So attachment styles also happen during stages of development. I mean during that infant stage. So we have secure attachment, avoidant attachment, anxious attachment, and fearful attachment. So take note of yourself if kung asan kayo dito, no? So it also happened or it also conceptualized by John Bowlby's. Okay. So the goal of ORTA or Kleinian psychology or psychotherapy is to provide understanding that personality was then developed already during the infant stage. Klein, though all children should be psychoanalyzed and substituted play therapy for dream work. To reduce depressive anxieties and persecutory fears and to lessen the harshness of internalized objects. So, yun lang po, no? Sana may natutunan kayo. Next week, we're going to discuss Karen Horney's theory. And again, please be reminded to answer the formative assessments. Thank you so much and may you have a great day.